Interested in writing in multiple genres? Then this is the episode for you. Hi, I'm Tonya Duncan Ellis, author of They Built Me for Freedom in the Sophie Washington series with Write This, my author interview show. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Patrice Gopo, a children's book author who has also tried her hand at editing different books for adults. And it's going to be interesting to learn about her career and all that she has done. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm going to send her an invitation. She'll be here in just a minute. So we're going to send her an invitation to join us here live. Great to see everybody here. I have met Patrice in person a couple of times, and every time that I meet with her, hey Patrice, how are you
Hey,
doing?
Tanya.
It's so good to see you. I was getting ready to say that every time I've talked to you, I've met you in person a couple of times, and every time I've talked to you, I feel like I get more wrinkles on my brain because
That's so
it
funny.
you always get me thinking about different things in the
Oh,
conversations that we've had. So
oh,
I'm excited to have you on today.
oh. Well, thank you so much. Well, I just love talking to you. It's been super fun the couple times we've met. So I'm delighted to be here today.
Yes. So I was saying in the intro that I wanted to ask you questions about what it is like to write in multiple genres
Oh,
because
yeah.
I'm familiar with you as a children's book author, but I know that you also edit different books of essays and you have a new release now.
I
So,
do.
yeah.
Yeah,
So can you
absolutely. No,
tell us about just where you're from and about your works and what
yeah,
you've published?
absolutely. Absolutely. And again, thank you so much for having me on today. It's super fun. But yeah, so I originally am from Anchorage, Alaska. I live in North Carolina right now, but I was born and raised in Anchorage, Alaska. My parents are Jamaican immigrants. And so I really got into writing I guess I was almost probably 30 or so when I got into writing. So it wasn't that I started right away, in undergrad or anything like that, but I really got into writing because I had a deep sense of wanting to tell some of the stories of my experiences growing up in Alaska as the child of Jamaican immigrants, being the Black American daughter, navigating these questions around racial identity formation and immigration experiences. So that's what really brought me to writing, Tanya. And the form that I was telling my stories in was the personal essay. So that is actually like my first entry point into writing was writing personal essays. And my first collection of essays, it's called All the Colors We Will See. And actually, you can't see it right now. I'm going to try and tilt it to see if, okay,
Oh,
yeah. I mean, it's up there. So that one that's in the middle, that's all the colors. I don't have it close to me, so I'll just tilt it down again. But yeah,
oh,
so that was my first collection of essays, was All the Colors We Will See. And I got into writing for children because one day I was reading that essay collection. I was reading an essay in that essay collection. It's a short essay, it's about 750 words. And it's about this moment where I am remembering taking a nap in rural Zimbabwe, or I'm sorry, when I'm laying my daughter down for a nap in rural Zimbabwe. And I remember myself taking a nap when I was a little girl in rural Jamaica. And so that's what this essay is about. And Tanya, as I was reading it, I thought, I really think this could be a picture book. I think there's something to this story that could become a picture book. And I don't know anything about writing picture books. So that set me on my journey of learning all about the craft of writing picture books. Not to say I know everything about it, but that there was a lot to learn, honestly, about. I mean, I know writing children's
mhm.
books is not a simple thing. So,
Right.
um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay,
and
that's
that,
fascinating.
yeah, and that what I did that became my first book. So this is my first book, All the Places We Call Home, and that is that essay reimagined in the form of a children's book.
That is so cool. I
Thank
love
you.
that. Okay, I didn't know that about that book. And we shared the same illustrator. Janine
Yes.
Muhammad illustrated my book too.
That's right. That is
Yeah.
right. And Janine is fabulous. I mean,
Yeah.
super fabulous. So that, and actually, I think that's how we first kind of started talking, was that we
Right.
recognized that our books shared the same illustrator in common.
Right. Yeah, that's neat. I love that those essays with that similar name ended up being this picture book. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So that's the journey. That's how I kind of moved from starting to write for adults and then also now writing for children as well.
Now, what are your other picture books? I know you have some other ones too, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have, this is my second picture book. It's called Ripening Time. And it,
Oh.
again, it's inspired by something in one of my essays as well. There's a paragraph in one of my essays in my first book that really, I kind of exploded and turned it into Ripening Time. And then I have another picture book that will come out in November called Beyond Alaska's Window. And it
Mm.
is about a Jamaican family in Alaska who eats the same meal every Sunday across the changing seasons of Alaska. So it's about
Ooh.
like how we hold close different parts of our stories.
Okay, that's really neat because
Thanks, Tonya.
because I've loved talking to you about your life in Alaska and you're growing up in Alaska. So that's going to open that window to people to learn about
Yeah.
experiences that most of us have not seen. So that's really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think one of the things when I tell stories, so having grown up in Alaska, having grown up in this far north location, I just love creating stories that illuminate the presence of Black people in these places that
Right.
oftentimes stories I feel as though maybe exclude people like me and my family from the more common narrative that's shared. And so I just love to add to that conversation and say, hey, I was up there, my family was up there, plenty of other people were up there as well. And can we share some of these stories to help add to the richness of what it is to imagine people living in some of these cold climates?
Right. And it's just telling that American story that we're all a part of. So it's
Mm-hmm.
I really love
Mm-hmm.
that because there's
Yeah.
so many stories where people of color, places where we are and have been that haven't
Yes,
been told. So this is great.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. That's exactly
Mhm.
right. Yeah.
Now, what about your newest book? So this is for
Oh,
adults, isn't it? So your
it
newest
is. Yeah, absolutely. So this is my latest book. So it's called We Deserve to Heal: Black Women on the Perils and Promises of Friendships with White Women. And it is actually an anthology. So it is my first edited work. I gathered 9 other contributors and we all wrote essays that we contributed to this, I guess, communal volume is what I would say. And it was just released last week. So yeah, so
That
that,
is cool.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a heart project that's been in the works for about 5 years now. So it's amazing to see it now out in the world that people can access it.
Now, how did that come about? How were you chosen to be an editor? If someone wants to do something like that, what's the process?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say, I think there's a lot of different processes for how you might go about becoming an editor for an anthology. I think one way, which I don't know as much about, is people are asked. So maybe a publishing house might have an idea for a project, whether it's a nonfiction project, where fiction, whatever it may be, for adults, kids, because there's anthologies as well for children too. Sometimes the publisher will seek out someone to edit for an idea they have. But in this particular case, I had the idea. So my work, I like to tell people, is very much rooted in my personal experiences. So as I shared already, my first essay collection, All the Colors We Will See, that's really about my experience growing up in Alaska, and then my picture books are inspired by other experiences. My second essay collection, similarly, and this book, We Deserve to Heal, it is also very rooted in just some tensions and struggles I was having with some of my white friends and trying to make sense of that, and just wondering, are there other Black women who have encountered some of these kinds of experiences? And would they be willing to write about these things and share their stories? And so that was the beginning of the anthology project in my mind. And one of my big things is that I was really committed that I didn't want to just ask people to take part without being able to compensate them. So I needed to find organizations that would help support the work that I was doing. And so I was able to do that. I found the Louisville Institute that gave me funding for this project. In addition, another organization, the Collegeville Institute, provided space and time for the contributors and I. And so in that space, I was able to bring this dream, honestly, to life is what I ended up doing.
And I'm from Louisville. I'm originally from Louisville,
Oh,
Kentucky.
are you? Oh, okay. All right. Oh,
So I'm
that's
from the
great.
roots. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you very, yeah, you're very, you have a lot of ingenuity, is the best word. Yeah. Because
Thanks.
I would never even think to get this funny, because to me, you seem kind of like a professor or something.
Oh,
When I, when I talk to you, yeah. Okay, this is interesting.
oh, well, thanks. I appreciate. Well, one thing that I will say, and I'm not sure who exactly is out there listening, but one of the things that I think I have found over the years is that there can, not always, but sometimes there are people out there that are interested in our creative ideas. And what
Mhm.
might it look like to go search for some of those people or organizations that might be interested in your creative ideas and how they might be able to come alongside and support you in that work? So I mean, like I said, it's not that I think everything we do is going to find that, but I also want to encourage people that it is something to consider, that there might be organizations out there that might want to come alongside you and support you in the work that you're trying to do.
Right, because the topic of your book is intriguing to me, thinking about experiences I've had through the years. So I'm
Hmm.
looking forward. I need to get my copy today. I got to order my copy. I'm looking forward to reading this book.
Oh, well,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you so
Hmm.
much. Yeah, I'm, I think for me, I think it's an important topic and I feel like it's a very timely topic. And I just think one thing I've noticed probably more than any book I've worked on is when I tell people about this particular book, there is always some sort of reaction to it, that a sense of interest, like, oh, I want to read that, oh, I'm interested in that. And so I think it's a topic that in various ways is resonating with people.
Right. Now, one question I have when we talk about this book, do you notice with younger generations, I know you told me your daughter's a teen, do they have, and of course I haven't read the book, do they have similar experiences in
Yeah,
today's time? That's something.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's a great question. And honestly, I'll say I don't honestly know for sure. I
Right.
do think there still are some of these things that are mentioned in the book that are coming up even in younger generations. But I also feel like something I've observed within younger generations is a greater capacity to engage with these discussions and talk about them.
Mhm.
I truly would be interested to hear, what are high school students thinking about this? And the other thing that I will say is interesting for my own experience, when I look back, I feel as though it really wasn't until my 20s that I started having a lot of these kind of nuanced experiences that people are writing about in the book, which isn't to say they didn't happen in childhood. I don't want to say that at all. But I think more so maybe I wasn't as aware of what I was looking for to kind of
Mhm.
recognize some of the challenges that might occur.
Okay, yeah. Well, this is going to be, I haven't read it again, so I'm curious to see what they say in these essays. I'm going to get
Yeah,
read
yeah. No,
today.
thank you.
Yeah. Now, what other projects do you have coming up? Are you working on anything else for children?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the biggest project, actually, before I do that, can I just make one other, because we are talking about books for children. One of the contributors in here, her name is Dorena Williamson, and she is a prolific kidlit writer. She writes a lot of picture books. So I just want to throw out that name for anyone who's, watching here and thinking about picture books and stuff too, that it was really exciting for her to take part in this because her focus typically is in the kidlit space. So that was Darina that I just wanted to mention. But yeah, in terms of my upcoming kidlit projects, my biggest thing is this book that will be coming out in November, is Beyond Alaska's Window, my next picture book. So that's the thing that's definitely happening. I do have other manuscripts that are on submission and looking for their right home. So we'll see what happens there. I'm hopeful that those manuscripts will find their spot at some point. And I will say, every now and again, I wonder, I asked myself, do you want to try a middle grade at some point? And I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I've kind of sketched out some ideas, but I haven't really done a whole lot with that yet.
Okay, yeah, so it's very interesting how you've used your essay work to kind of move into the children's space and are coming up with all these creative things. Now, by training before you were writing, what had you planned to do growing up?
Oh, yeah. Studied chemical engineering. So I did, I know. It's kind of funny. I worked as a chemical engineer for a couple of years before I went to graduate school. And I went to graduate school. I have an MBA and a Master's of Public Policy. And
Oh,
I was interested in working with nonprofit management and community development initiatives. So I didn't end up really doing much of that work. I did it also for a little while, but life changes, all that kind of stuff. I ended up moving in the direction of writing, which honestly, I would never have guessed that that was going to be where I would head. But when I found writing, I realized how much I loved it.
right. And I think you seem like you're very curious about a lot of different topics. So
Yes.
then with
Hmm.
writing, you can kind of just explore different things.
You are absolutely right.
Yeah.
I think that is absolutely the truth that you get to explore a lot of different things, and you don't necessarily have to stay with that whatever you're exploring forever. That
Right,
you can
right.
learn what you need, learn and be as engaged and interested, and then there can be a time where it's time to let it go and make space for something else that you might want to explore or that you're interested in. So I think that's a
Right.
great observation.
Yeah, that's what I think. Because you could write something with your engineering or some kind of STEM kind of
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
it's true. And actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I do have a manuscript. It hasn't gone on submission yet, but it does kind of, it's not exactly STEM, but it is connected to some things related to my experience as an engineer and as a girl often being encouraged into engineering. It's something I think about a lot is kind of that balance between how we create space for girls and women to go into engineering without necessarily putting the burden of expectation on them that they must go into these fields.
Right. And really, it's challenging breaking into the writing space. But I think listening to you too, you've been in areas where there have been challenges, probably as a
Yeah.
woman in STEM.
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
yeah.
That's so true. That is so true. I hadn't thought about that
Yeah,
actually,
when I'm
but you're
looking at that,
right.
because I'm thinking, how did she get into doing all this? But what suggestions would you have for people who are interested in writing who may not have been in the writing space?
Oh,
Anything
yeah.
interesting? Yeah.
No, that's a great because that is me. I mean, I was not in the writing space and I had to
Mhm.
learn a lot. So I do think some well, I mean, I'll just share the path that I took, which I found very valuable is I started by trying to learn one as much as I could about the industry and also learning as much as I could about the craft of writing. So I was kind of doing these things along the way. I think in the beginning it was more focused on the craft, and then as I continued to grow in the craft of writing, I started, uh, you know, putting more energy towards understanding the publishing industry. So I think those things can be really great. And so I think some things that could be really helpful for people is to consider signing up if you're able to consider signing up for a class of some sort and I think that can be really helpful. I think also there's some wonderful craft books out there that if you spend time reading that you can learn about the craft. And I think similarly, there's some great things related to publishing that also classes you can take, books you can read. On my website, so at patricegopo.com, if you go down to the bottom of my website, I have a tab called writing resources. And I just list a whole bunch of stuff that was
Mhm.
really helpful for me in my own journey growing as a writer. So I think I have it divided into several categories classes that I took, conferences that I've attended, writing coaches that I've worked in. That was really valuable. And there's another C. I can't remember what it is right now.
Okay.
But, anyways, I just would encourage people to check that out if it's something that they are interested in. But I really believe wherever you are, if you're interested in writing, it's definitely, I think it's something that you can do. And part of writing is to write as well. So I think that I don't
Yes.
want to forget that aspect of the writing life is that we're actually writing too. So I think learning, writing, continuing to read, learning about this industry, I think all those things can be really helpful.
Okay, yeah. Now, before we go to, as you were talking, I recalled that you also had hosted a podcast
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
about picture books. So, what is
Yes.
that, and how
Oh,
can
yeah.
people access that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I do. I host a podcast called Picture Books Are for Grown-ups Too. And on the podcast, I invite picture book, I call them authors, illustrators, or picture book enthusiasts will come on and they will talk about a particular picture book that they've either illustrated, authored, or just selected that they want to talk about. And we will talk about ways in which adults can also be reading these picture books and using them as a means to think about their own stories, but also connect with other people. I think, well, picture books are so powerful and there's so much wrapped up in these, they almost seem like these small shorter works, but they carry so much meaning. So many of them carry so much meaning, and I think they can lead to some really rich conversations. And so that's my intent with the podcast, is that people will pick up these picture books even as adults and consider, what are some of the themes here? How do these themes speak to my particular story? How might these themes help me connect with other people?
Right. I found myself in reading picture books just to study the craft. I've learned so much about different cultures,
Mm-hmm.
history, things I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't aware of. Yeah, so I
Yes.
love reading picture books.
Yes,
Mm.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, I think they're wonderful. I think they're
Yeah.
wonderful.
Now, how can people find your show? Is it on now, or is it?
Oh, yeah. It's still, so there's only 2 seasons. I haven't started the third season yet. It'll happen at some point. But I guess the best way to find it is if you go to patricegopo.com and then just click on podcast. It'll take you to the podcast kind of homepage, and then you can find all the links to wherever. But if you search for it wherever you listen to podcasts, it will pull, people will be able to find it too. So it's called Picture Books Are for Grown-ups Too. And I'm the host, Patrice Gopo. So it should, people should be able to find it wherever they look for podcasts.
Okay, that's exciting. All right. Well, I guess we're almost out of time. Is there any closing advice you want to give for aspiring children's book authors or authors of any genre?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just really encourage people to recognize the importance, beauty, and value of the stories that they want to tell, that we all have our own unique thing that we can add to the world. And I think it matters that we do that. And as you're doing that, I just want to encourage people, keep learning, keep writing, keep growing in your knowledge of this industry. And I think as you do that, you're going to, continue to blossom in that writing life that you want for yourself.
Yeah, well, I love that. Thank you for that wonderful advice, Patrice. And
Absolutely.
now you've mentioned your website, patricegopo.com. Is
That's
that
right.
it?
Yep.
Yeah.
patricegopo.com.
Now, what any other places people can find you, and where would you like them to buy your books?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can buy my books wherever you find books. If you want specific links to maybe some of my indie booksellers, if you do go to patricegopo.com and click on the page for that particular book, you should be linked to some of the different indie booksellers. But yeah, I mean, I think that would be, I guess the other place, which I think anyone watching this would know, but you can find me on Instagram at Patrice Gopo, or on Facebook, I'm at Patrice Gopo Writes.
Okay, well, thank you, Patrice. And as soon as we get off, I'm going to buy your new book. So I'm going
Oh,
to get
thank
that.
you.
Yeah, I'm going to
That's very
read
sweet.
that. And
I
thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. I hope I'll get to see you sometime this year,
Yeah,
maybe
I hope
at
so
some of the
too. I
in
hope so
person.
too. Thank
Yes.
you so much. This has been super fun. I really appreciate, yeah, you just having me on the show and everything. This has been good.
Okay, well, thank you, Patrice. And
Yeah.
thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please make sure to support Patrice in all of her releases. Check out our website. And we will see you I'm not here next week, but in a couple weeks, I'll see you back for another episode of Write This. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.